Hello everybody, this is John, host of the Prepared Mind channel. Thank you all for coming back for another video, right? Another idea. But this isn't just an idea, this is a breaking news alert, right? And it's breaking insofar as that I heard about it and I finally got a chance to make the video. But it is an alert if you're a prepper. It's an alert if you're considering prepping. And that is that there is food rationing beginning. It is beginning in jolly old England. It's beginning in Europe. There have been threats of this in the past, right? Bad harvest, bad weather, crop failures. But it is starting to take place again. And it's not just happening, it's happening at a time when there's political turmoil in England, right? They have the Brexit. That's changing things. That's changing the dynamics between the people and government, the people in England trying to take back control of the government, and the powers that be in England, namely the European Central Bank and the EU, they don't like England taking its own steps. And what does anyone ever do, right? What do? They punish people that aren't doing what they want. In the U.S., right, the presidents are always punishing this country and punishing that country. Sanctions is what they call it. But the sanctions against the people are never called sanctions. They never call it punishment. But the reality is they do punish the people for their behavior. And one of the ways they're going to start doing it, right, is they're going to start rationing the food. Whether or not there's a food shortage is irrelevant. But the idea, the predictive programming, the psychological operation of convincing the people there's a problem with food, there's a shortage with food, is prepping their minds. This is the average person, the average Joe, or as it were, the average Mick over there. They're being prepped for shit hitting the fan. They're being prepped with the idea that they're not going to get all the food they need, that they can be told there's not enough, that the world is not productive enough, right? That they're going to have to suffer. This is a red alert to you. Whether you're in England or Australia, Canada or America, or anywhere else in the world for that matter, we can prepare ahead of time. You can, right now, go get freeze-dried vegetables, long-term food storage for everything, complete meals, raw ingredients. You can store food, and I highly recommend it because we face very uncertain times. With Theresa May in the British Parliament, or as the Prime Minister, up in jolly old Canada, right? You guys are having some troubles up there, and it's just going to get worse. Same here in America, right? In Australia and Germany and other countries are not immune from this game that's being played with us. And you and I, we're just regular people. We can't do anything about what's done in Washington. Right? We can't do anything about what's done in London, but what we can do is prepare for ourselves with food, water, shelter, clothing, and a means of self-defense. Right? But food rationing, it looks like it's coming. And we're not talking about, little countries. We're talking about the UK. Why can't they have food? Aren't they productive enough? Right? And if there's a food shortage in England, shouldn't there be a food shortage on the mainland, on the continent? Right? If there's a food shortage in the European continent, does that mean that we've got one coming in America? Does that mean China's not producing food? Right? Other big agricultural producers. Is Argentina not producing enough beef? Is that going to be next? So this isn't about being fearful of a real food shortage. This is about being fearful of a manufactured food shortage. Because very little things that go on in the world when big political changes are happening are organic or natural. To the contrary, they are typically manufactured. And they're done for social engineering reasons and for political reasons. It's because they want to control the people and manipulate the people. I don't think their goal is to make everyone preppers. If that was the government's goal, they could just come out and say it. Uncertain times ahead. Store some food, right? It would be that simple to make everyone realize they need to prep. But instead, they're trying to manipulate people, manipulate their thinkings and their belief systems. to undermine the credibility of political leaders that the real power elite, the central banks, they don't want the people to like them. So they bring up things like food shortages, and then they make it happen in order to undermine the credibility of the policies and the leaders in place. It's easy to see that if they can do a bullshit operation like 9/11 and convince the world, the majority of the world, it was done by terrorists, they can certainly create a synthetic, artificial food shortage and then blame whoever they want for it. And the majority of the people of the world will buy that load of crap. That is what this is about. So whether or not there's a shortage of food, if they shut down the stores and shut down the transportation, right? If they bottleneck it, if they even pay to have crops destroyed just to create this shortage, however it comes about, and even if it's just wild speculation and hyperbole that there's going to be a bad crop forecast, it will cause panic ultimately. So today in England it's vegetables. Tomorrow it could be meat. Rationing causes panic in some cases. When people don't feel they're getting what they want, and this is especially true in America, they tend to riot. Once again, this is an opportunity for change, changing the system, and for shit to hit the fan, which is a great technique used by governments. Artificial disasters, real disasters, are always used to create the political change that the political elite want. Take good old Rahm Emanuel, probably hiding under his desk or in his toilet back in Chicago. That guy came out and said, never let a good emergency or catastrophe go to waste, right? It's an opportunity. Never let a good disaster go to waste. These people know how to use this, they know how to create it, and we need to be aware of it. Now, am I wrong? Am I right? You guys can add to this. You can share your ideas, your information, your perspective. Right? Put your spin on this in the comments, and those comments tend to really help everyone get a fuller idea of the picture. And we've got people on this channel, in particular, I know, from Canada, from England, from Germany, from Australia. And you guys write in terrific English, right? But we get that around the world perspective here on the Prepared Mind channel, and I really appreciate that, because I'm just a guy. I'm just a regular John, right? I just have some ideas, and I've got a forum, and you guys come here, and it's fantastic. I want to thank you for it, and I look forward to seeing your answers. Hopefully, by the time this gets uploaded and out and you guys see it, I'll have time to read and comment some myself. And I'm trying that, but man, life, right? It just comes at you. It takes all your time. But I want to thank you not only for comments, but for fan funding, for clicking on sponsors, and for sharing all of my videos with people that you know. Right? This channel's gaining popularity, not because of me, but because you guys are making it. You're making the awareness effort. And we've got to help everyone else see as much as they're willing. And in the past, sometimes I just about all but give up on them and think that they're just a bunch of idiots. I think that they're afraid to think. They're afraid to take care of themselves. Being a self-sufficient individual is a scary prospect. Right? So people tend to ignore threats and hope that somehow it just magically goes away. But where we're at today, we're not magically getting better. Things aren't magically going away. We're starting to see crisis after crisis. And political pressure is mounting within countries, and diplomacy between countries is mounting. The pressure's mounting because there are economic difficulties. There's financial difficulties, right? And war is typically used to hide the mistakes governments make. And there's a lot of threat of that. So there's really, once again, nothing we can do except try and help others by advising them of the threats, the situation, and then taking care of ourselves. And if it means stop spending money on, I don't want to use the word useless, but frivolous luxuries, use those luxuries, that money from those luxuries, to buy preparations. If they're going to ration food, you need to get food. You don't have to go out and go hog wild and crazy, but just start thinking about it. Come up with a plan, right? And some of you will go hog wild and have. I know I have. Go out and buy a year's worth of food, bam, just like that. Throw down some ducks. It's not that expensive, right? And if you're so tight that you don't have any additional income, that should also be an indicator of where we're at in this world. When you don't have enough money to buy, make that kind of purchase, because you don't have the income, bad economy, right? You're too far in debt already, right? That's bad practice, right? You've been tricked into thinking you need things and having to spend money, or you're just not making enough money and you're continuously going into debt trying to keep up. That gives you an idea where we're at financially and politically in this nation, as well as economically. We're in dire straits, and if you can't afford food, as I suggest, just go out and buy a year's worth, then you need to think about, what does that mean? You know, you're not the Lone Ranger. A lot of us had huge debt, or have huge debt, personal debt. And that's because of the nature of the system we're operating under and the quality of our economy, the productive capacity of our economy. If we're not producing a lot, then there's not a lot to go around, and hence the need to do debt spending the same way the nation has. The people of the United States and the world, indeed, have been practicing debt spending. And now they're just trying to service the debt. And they say, I don't have any more money for prepping, John. We got to figure that out, right? Because it's only going to get worse with time here. The economy here in America isn't getting better. Right? Nations are selling off the bonds of other nations because the dollar is too strong compared to theirs and they don't like what's going on, and they need to save their own nations the same way Donald Trump is saying America, right? The United States needs to put America first. So as belts tighten and behavior changes, there's going to be pressure brought to bear against other pressures, and we're going to see more violence, we're going to see more uncertainty, we're going to see more potential shit-it's-the-fan events coming. And when it does, whether it's a massive shit-it's-the-fan or a local geographic type shit-it's-the-fan, or small hot spots of shit-it's-the-fan like caused by protesters, violent rioters, looters, maybe even caused by small revolutionary factions that want to take over parts of cities. We need to be prepared. There's a food shortage that is starting to rear its ugly head, and we need to address that in our personal lives. Don't be the last in line at the supermarket. Be the first in line. Prepare now. All right, thanks again. This is John saying, chance favors the prepared mind. Is yours? Semper Fi.